and what you kind of see from Georgia Tech from your perspective so far?
It's a team that's coming in, very talented group. A lot of experience on the offensive side of the ball. A lot of explosive playmakers. This is it's a team that I think is put itself in a position to take another step as a program. And Coach Key's done a wonderful job. The work that they put in, the way they've improved, and we're going to have our hands full, there to kick off the season, but excited for the opportunity.
How do you prepare your guys mentally for the long trip? Because obviously it's probably the longest away game that they've taken so far.
No, it's definitely that, and we've done a good amount of research with guys on staff that have been a part of playing in NFL games. They're in Europe in different venues, and so we're gonna take some of those experiences and be able to apply them to our travel efforts and making sure that we're putting our guys in the best position. But it's been a long process in our prep, but we're excited to work to execute that plan.
Who's a guy on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball that you may look at right now in that matchup?
You're saying in that
matchup?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is to be determined as we continue to go through fall camp. You've got a lot of great playmakers on both sides of the ball that we're excited to see them grow through these 25 practices and what that'll look like kicking off the season.
Coach, you're moving on from Jordan Travis, of course, for the first time in your coaching tenure here at Florida State. How has DJ done transitioning into this role back in the ACC play?
DJ's done a great job. I love the attitude and the approach that he's brought into our program. I've said earlier, he's led with humility, and I think when you come in, he is a name that the country knows. It's not the talent, the ability, what he brings to our program, but he's come in, really leading by action to who he is and how he's worked to learning a new offense, learning new teammates, investing that time, and I think it's a special trait and has allowed him to put himself in a position that if there is a time to speak, he'll have teammates that'll be willing to listen because of the example that he's been and how he's worked through this transition for himself. So really excited about who he is and what he's going to mean to this program.
Coach, can I follow up with DJ you real quick? You guys, a big part of the success the last 2 years was Jordan Travis's play as a veteran quarterback. Now you bring in a guy that has 40 Power 5 starts. Could you just talk about how that helps with the offense and also to help mentor the talented young quarterbacks you guys have in the rooms with them?
Yeah, I think that's been one of the things I've been most pleased with, just to seeing the relationships built in that quarterback room, because all those guys, they're competing with each other. It's not I've seen times in my past where you see guys at a position competing against each other, and where it's just about them and their experience and what it looks like for them in the moment. But seeing those guys work together, lift each other up, challenge each other, and I think that that maturity from the young guys and the maturity from DJ is something that is to be celebrated. But it's you can never replicate experience until you go get experience, and you definitely had that. And what I love is it's not all been great. There's been good, there's been bad. He's played at an elite levels at times, and then there's been times where he's had to get himself up and push and move forward. But he's answered the call. He's continued to grow throughout his collegiate career, and we're going to do everything in our power to help him have the best season here in his last one.
You guys rotated O-line a lot last year. Is that something you intend to do again this year? And if so, what's the benefits of doing it?
We'll see what it looks like as we get closer to the season. There's going to be a lot of competition, which is something that I love, because you can't have an off day. You got to come out there, you got to work, you got to push, you got to be able to establish yourself in a role. If there are opportunities where guys are going to bring an impact to their team, that maybe if they are the sixth lineman or the seventh lineman, but they have an opportunity to be able to impact our team and help us win games, then it's our job to be able to help showcase all the guys that can help achieve that goal. That's playing up front. Let's just be real. When you start looking at 12, 13, 14, 15 games in a season, potential, it's bodies get beat up in the trenches, and so we've had guys that have had versatility, that have had to move around, and which is a great challenge in its own right. But I think that when you look at the guys we have, it should be as deep of a group as we've had, but also I believe we're one of the most talented.
With that depth, do you kind of hope to keep guys at one singular spot, not move guys around like Darius has in the past?
Yeah, I mean, you would like to be able to do that. But it's also about playing, making sure that your best players are having a chance to be able to go and play. And so I think that's what's so important about this fall camp and spring practice and everything we've done up until that point is that, guys get to determine their role. It's not something that we're going to go into and say, well, this is the role, this is what it's going to look like. I mean, there's great competition, and we've been a program that's grown because of development and competition, and we're going to continue to do that. So guys will get an opportunity to showcase where they are, and be able to play out what their role is going to be on the team here moving forward.
Coach, lost a lot of starters, but last year. But have you seen enough from your team to kind of get a sense of, okay, yeah, I think I've got another title contender?
Yeah, I'm excited about this group, and where that leads us, that's to be determined. But I mean, I believe in the guys I get to coach. I believe in the guys I'm coaching with, and it's all about the opportunity that's ahead and going to continue to push and get better. And but I definitely am excited about the group that we have.
In the bigger picture, obviously Florida State we're trying to sue and the ACC trying to get out of the league. Does it create any sense of awkwardness, and how do you handle that as a coach?
For us, it's you approach the things that you can control on a daily basis, and my job is to go and help prepare this team for all the things that are ahead when it comes to playing this game and helping develop them to the men that they are throughout this journey. And so that's been our focus, our approach. I'm proud of our guys for how they've been able to handle all things, but right now that has no impact on what we have in front of us.
How do you handle just kind of compartmentalize it, push it over the side?
Life is full of distractions, and at the end of the day, you stay focused on the things that are in front of you, and ultimately the things that you can control. And I'm fortunate to be able to have the responsibility to help lead this team, and that's where my focus is going to be.
Your quarterback situation, is there a leader in the clubhouse, quarterbacks?
I think DJ's done a really good job, transitioning, coming in. Brock and Luke, had minor injuries there finishing spring, but DJ, I thought you saw great growth and great opportunity, and excited about where it's going to go.
Hey Mike, with the Orange Bowl last year not being a great for the game for us, but what did you learn from the Orange Bowl last year? I thought you learned a lot from all the situations with the players opting out.
Yeah, you look at that last game, and it was challenging because there were a lot of guys within the course of a team that got thrown into new situations, and when you're whether it is offense, defense, whatever your side of the ball, communication, continuity, consistency of who you're doing with is so important, and it's developed and grown throughout the course of a year, and then you get to the end of it, and you got some guys that might have been working scout team or very limited capacities that were now communicating with guys that were used to maybe a couple of different combinations. So it's a learning experience that regardless of where you might be, making sure that you're ready to jump in and capitalize on those opportunities, because it happened. You're there at the quarterback position late in the season. We go throughout the course of the year. Jordan goes down. Our backup quarterback has to go in. He gets hurt. You got third string. The guy that was technically third string and had to missed a lot of the year due to injury. In his own right, he still had to be ready to answer the call. And and that was one of the things I was proud of. Even with Brock, is that you look at the championship game, you look at improvement that he had in a lot of areas. Even going to that next game, and so it's you want to see growth. And I think guys got experiences. Some that might not have been very fun experiences, they're, in that game, but things that you can definitely, you'll grow from, if you bring that, the right mentality to it.
Did you see them looking better in spring ball, like they're all focused, ready to go after that game, like this is not going to happen again?
Yeah, it was, it's the objective of our program is to go get better. And so when we got back in January, I didn't need a motivational speech to get our guys to go. They came in, they understood they understand the expectation of our program, and to be honest with you, it shouldn't be driven by the result of a game. It's driven by the opportunity that we're given, that we're provided. And so, good Lord wakes us up tomorrow. We got to go be better than what we've ever been, and that's going to be the challenge, and that's going to be the standard.
There's been a lot of talk about offense and defense, but I want to switch gears and ask you about special teams. You guys got Alex Mastromano, who's an absolute weapon. You got, obviously, Ryan Fitzgerald, who had a big rebound season last year. And then you also have an X factor that I feel like with Jalen Lucas coming in is a guy that we've heard so much about with his electric ability. Can you talk about what he brings to special teams and then what that third phase will do for you guys this year?
And that's going to be a critical component for us. We think that can be an X factor. When you have a guy like Alex who can totally change the dynamic of field position. I think he's arguably going to be the best punter in college football this year. Ryan Fitzgerald, was the same. I mean, he was. You saw his consistency, you saw his confidence, you saw his response in all things. He's got to be a great weapon for us. And then the return game. A year ago, we had big question marks coming into it of the punt return position and what that would look like. And I don't think Keon ever. Never returned a punt before, in his college career, and became the special teams player of the year in the conference. And so, it's about putting guys in a position to help impact and to showcase all that they can do. You mentioned Jalen Lucas. I think we have a great group of guys, in that in that returner group, guys that can be able to make an impact. I mean, you look back to the Duke game last year when the game-changing plays was the Deuce Spann kickoff return for a touchdown, and you never know when that moment's going to show up. But the buy-in, the belief, the opportunity that we have, I mean, it's going to be big, and our special teams unit's got to be ready to answer that call.
Coach, can I get your thoughts on Boston College, your home opener? They played you tough last year, and thoughts on Bill O'Brien joining the ACC conference?
Yeah, Coach O'Brien's a great coach. He's got a wonderful resume and career that he's been able to lead. I mean, Boston College is a very talented team, and we saw going up there in a very emotional game. That one that was full of momentum swings and good and bad on both sides. But we know that'll be a team that is very is very talented and hungry under the new staff that they have. And so when we get to that game, I mean, it'll be everything we have to go kick off our home opener. But to be excited about it when it shows up.
How is the gelling process with all the transfers, especially given that you have to hit the ground running with the week 0 game?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's whether it's the high school players that came in, transfers that come in. It's always the same real process. I mean, it's an accelerated approach to build relationships for guys to showcase who they are, what they can do, and then trying to put together the best plan of attack to be able to impact for our team. And so I think our guys have embraced that responsibility of getting to know each other. You look back in years past, whether it's regardless of the path that somebody takes to get to Florida State, it's still about being able to bring somebody in that has a like-minded approach and that fits our program. And I think we've done a wonderful job of finding those guys again here this year.
Like, really talented. Do you think these coast-to-coast conferences are? And do you think the ACC did enough to raise its profile with the additions?
Give me the first part of the question.
How sustainable do you think these coast-to-coast conferences are, especially only 2 schools being out in California?
Yeah, I mean, that's not my opinion doesn't matter in any of that, but it ultimately it's we were able to add 3 teams that I think are very unique in their own right, and to have talented, great tradition. It's one that I think is going to continue to push up the ACC for what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go. And it's going to be a very competitive league. You look at a group like SMU won their conference a year ago. It's a very great team returning with all 3 of those schools have a wonderful coaching staff. So this is a competitive league, and top to bottom, I mean it's consistently shown that as good as any league in the country. In my belief of just what it takes. I mean, you look at the scoring margin of victory. I mean, within this league, I mean, it's going to be competitive, and I think those 3 teams will come in and be able to continue to enhance that.
Is it weird for you to be sitting there in front of an ACC logo of a conference you guys are trying to leave?
No, we have a great history, and obviously time here in the ACC. We're going to continue to push to elevate this conference and what we do and how we push to represent it.
With really talented youngsters like Hakeem and Blake Blake. How much do you talk to him at the end of last season about seizing an opportunity, and then how do you push him in the offseason to get him there?
No, I mean, I think those guys, and specifically, I mean, they've done a remarkable job in that. I mean, I think, Hakeem, Blake, I mean, Justin Cryer. I mean, we've got a great group that we're say thrust into action, but I mean, those guys made a great impact, as true freshmen, coming in, and now that's good. That is to do all the more to prepare them for the opportunity that they have, this year. And I think that their approach has been great. I think that the guys surrounding them have you hope continue to encourage that confidence that's necessary, and I expect those guys to be key contributors for us.
With Kyle Morlock, obviously made a big jump up from shorter at FSU. How is year 2 different for him versus what he did last year?
I mean, he came in and he was really good for us. I thought Kyle, he's a guy that doesn't get a whole lot of maybe exposure, or maybe not as openly talked about. But I mean, he was as dependable of a guy as we probably had. You look at third down situations. I mean, he was just very consistent, in his playmaking ability and some of the explosive plays that he had. And I think that you look at going into year 2. I mean, he's put himself in a position to really have a huge step moving forward. And he's really developed in strength, his physicality. The blocking element, I think, is going to be even that much more improved. And then just even the development as a pass receiver, just the versatility of what he brings. So really excited about Kyle and his leadership for that group. You get guys like Jackson West, Brian Courtney, a couple of young freshmen that I think have elite level talent that have a chance to impact for us as well.
DJ's getting ready to play the third system in 3 years. So what's kind of that acclimation been like, especially during spring? And I think what are some of the conversations and ironing out that he's had to do in terms of getting on that page?
For DJ, I mean, that's one of the things that I think an area that he's really earned respect of his teammates, because he's put in so much work in the time of, you learn a third language, essentially. And there's a lot of things conceptually that can be similar as you go into a new offensive system, and how he connects the dots between it. But I think the work that he's poured in, the confidence that he's been able to gain throughout spring practice, and even maximizing the summer workouts, has done great for him. And you can see in just the way that he communicates, the way that he's kind of commanding the guys around him. I mean, I'm really excited about where it's at.
At times, the accuracy has been the arm is amazing, of course. But are there some things that maybe you and the coaches have talked about with him, worked with him, noticed that you?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about where he's headed, and I believe that the best is yet to come with him. And there's just like you see with all guys as they go through their journey, it's an opportunity to improve and get better. And I thought we saw some really glimpses of that in just the consistency there through spring ball. It's been great as he's gone through the summer, and the work that we've been able to be with him and around him. But excited about what's going to show up here this fall.
In Amelia Allen, you told me you thought he was more mature than he was maybe a couple years ago when he was at Clemson. Can you elaborate a little bit about that maturity, like where he's in?
Yeah, I love his maturity. I wasn't with him at Clemson, so I couldn't tell you.
Right. I mean, just how's he more mature?
Well, I mean, I think as you see somebody that grows, for wherever he was and what that looked like coming into our program. I mean, he brings a maturity in how he carries himself. He's a very, very professional in his approach, but very genuine in his interactions. And I think that's something that speaks to the young man that it's not just ball with him. Yes, that is a huge part of what he's doing, but he cares about the individuals. He cares about the place. He cares about the people surrounding him, that he's willing to invest in them. And I think that maturity and that character really is a chance to establish. Because when you look back at Jordan Travis, and he was a guy that was so very talented, and everybody can point to talent, but he was a person that he was that elevated the people around him, that gave that extra push, that extra encouragement to even when he was going through challenging times, where people were there to support him and lift him up, and that helped him mature and throughout his time, and it would help him become the player of the year in the conference.
Given what happened to you guys last year, how relieved are you or gratified have a 12-team playoff this year?
I think that ultimately it's you controlling what you can control, and you have an opportunity. Everybody's fighting, and you're trying to push to be a conference champion, and that if that is accomplished, then you will not have to worry about what that next step is, and ultimately it's about showing up each and every day and earning it on the field.
With how this team is constructed, do you think it can be the best running team that can have?
I'm excited about it. When you start with the guys up front, tight end position, the running backs. I mean, I think we got a great group, in the backfield, very diverse skills and talents. So I'm excited to see them. We've had some good teams and some great backs and guys up front. So, but that's what is yet to be seen, and what I'm excited to watch them hold.
How much can you expect DJ to be a part of the running game? And how do you practice that during the week when obviously he's not being tackled or hit at all?
Yeah, I think that we'll see what that looks like as we move forward. DJ's I think he's got a great potential at quarterback. He's a guy that can live in the pocket, distribute the football. If you look back through his career, he's had success, with the ball in his hand. He's big, he's tough to tackle. The fact that you have 40 games of experience to look back to, it's not the unknown of what that's going to be, and but on the flip side of it, we'll see how that fits into things that we do as we move forward, and whether it's a game or whether it's ultimately what it looks like throughout the course of the season.
Will a new coach to quarterback communication with the helmet help you speed up a quarterback, breaking in a new quarterback faster as the year goes along?
I think that's to be seen. I'm excited about what that'll be, but it's a one-way communication. So I mean, I think that it'll be interesting to see dynamics, how different teams handle that, and we're gonna do what's best for us, and for the guy that's out there. So as he's hearing things, sometimes you can almost in a sense paralyze guys with too much information where they become very robotic, or just being able to help them in situational times, maybe a tip, maybe a point, maybe a play call, whatever that might be, that suits your team and what we're needing in the moment.
In your discussions with him, he was drafted by the Dodgers. DJ was drafted by the Dodgers in the 23 draft in the last round. Did that ever come up that he was still contemplating trying to do both or anything? That was all flushed as far as you're concerned?
Yes.
The time he got to you?
Coach, there's been a lot of talk about the speed that you guys have at wide receiver this year. Can you talk about what you've seen from that group so far and how it aligns with what DJ has and that big arm to be able to take the top off of defense?
Yeah, I think when you look at our receiver room as it's continued to grow and develop, it's exciting for the big play capabilities, and we've had some great players at receiver for us, and guys that have been consistent in what they've done, but now we're really looking forward to seeing this group come together. And I was asked earlier what position that I'm most excited to see grow up. It probably is our receiver position, because I love the talent we have. I think we've got talented young men. I think we got dynamic skill sets. I think we got guys that really can be go-to type players. But now they get to go do that. And who's going to show up on a consistent basis and make the play? Who's going to be able to live in the details and the discipline and all those things in the moment. And but it's not from a lack of talent, which sometimes you find yourself in those situations, and there's not a whole lot of good answers when you don't have that. So we have the talent. We have I think guys the right want to, and now it's to go put it all together for what's best for Florida State.
And to follow up on that, when you mentioned the talent, this team on paper, of course, is more talented than a lot of the teams you've had in the past, but it's not as much of experience. How do you balance that? Having that talent, it just doesn't have a lot of experience yet, getting guys up to speed and be able to take advantage of that talent.
Well, I think the experience, when you look at that, I think we have an experienced team.
Right.
And some of the guys that were top producers, are now. They were drafted and they're going into the. But when you look at guys that have, you take a guy like DJ Lundy, who's played for 4 years, has played since he was a true freshman, has really was behind two exceptional linebackers, one All-American, one All-Conference player, but he still played over 400 snaps this last season. he is experienced. Now it's his time to go and really make his mark on this defense, to be a leader. You look at Azari Thomas, who's never started for us. I think arguably will be one of the best corners in all of college football next year. I think is a potential first-round draft pick, if you want, in my real opinion. But he's played a lot of football, but he's never been necessarily the starter. And so, for him to be able to adjust to that role, I mean, that's what you want to see in top programs, where guys can go and perform at a high level. Having 10 guys drafted last year was something that was great for our program, and the guys that are returning that have experience in their own right, that now they get to go and be the producer, and they get to take that step. And I think that's something that we're excited about as a staff, and I think we got a lot of guys that are very capable.
And last one for me, if you don't mind, talking about the guys getting drafted, and then also things, the way they started, regardless of how last season ended. You brought the first ACC championship back to Tallahassee in a while. How does that climb that you talk about all the time, how does going from the 3 to 5, the 10 to 13 win season, how does that help sell the vision that you've been really selling this whole time, the proof of work, not only within the program but also on the recruiting trail?
No, I mean, it's one thing to talk about what could occur. It's another thing for people to see the steps of what has been accomplished. But we're just getting started to where we're going, and it's about the work, it's about the improvement, it's about the the next step on this journey. And to follow up on the last question, guys that have been a part of it, but now guys get to take the lead in it, and the competition, the support, the relationship, the team, how that comes together is what makes this job so fun, to see that each year is specific to itself, and we get to go play it out here in the next couple days.
How did Duke Cooper's return to the program kind of come about? How weird is a bounce back in this day and age of football, and what does he bring returning to the program?
When Duke went in the portal, he'd actually reached out, seeking potential opportunity, and I love him. I mean, I hated to see him go. There's been some guys that has been separation from the program that I think sometimes is the right thing, and for new opportunity, and for guys to go and to be real, Duke when he left was one that I really it hurt to see him leave, because he had some success there early in his career. He was looking to transition, looking to really take another step, and he went and played, and got a chance to have that experience in a different place. But when the opportunity presented itself and it did fit, some of the dynamics of what we're looking for, excited to get him back. And he's come in and got great relationships on this team. He's had to come in and obviously show the commitment to what we're doing, and I think he's done a really nice job of that. And he knows he's got to come in and compete for everything that's there. He's coming into a very talented room. He knew that on the front end of this, and he didn't want any guarantees. He just wanted opportunity, and I respect that. And he's a great young man that it's definitely meant to be for him to end his career as a Florida State Seminole, and looking forward to it being a great year for him.
Does that say something about him? Does that say something about him? I imagine there's some kids that have left the program that maybe wouldn't be welcome back, and I think that's for every program in the country. What does it say about him that you were so willing to welcome him back?
I care about all the guys that
Sure.
that get a chance to coach, and it's but it's also got to fit, and his approach and desire to come back, his perspective is things that it was to be able to come back and understand what it would have to look like, and that there was no guarantee and anything but opportunity, and that's where I respected that, and I thought it. I talked to a couple guys that are on the team, and he was welcome back, and there's an excitement for what he can bring in whatever role that ends up looking like. but it was a choice that we got to make together, and we'll see how it all plays out.
Mike, there's a lot of discussion about some of the scholarship limits and what that might look like. I know the number hasn't been settled on necessarily, but whether it's 85, 105, I guess, where do you kind of land on that? What kind of challenges might that present? How do you have to adjust to that as coaches?
Once that is finalized, obviously we can all have an opinion on where we see it or what we desire, but wherever that's finalized, we'll adapt and adjust. We've got plenty of grids and thoughts, and it's we definitely will plan for all things. But at the end of the day, I know that regardless of the number, regardless of all those things, we're going to continue to push and do everything in our power to keep Florida State as one of the elite programs in this country. And the commitment from our administration, the commitment from everybody, from boosters to support all of it. I mean, that's there's been a great investment, and we're going to continue to do that, and wherever that number might land.
Is there a magic number you have in mind? I mean, if not, that's fine.
I don't. I mean, I think you look through past experiences, and some years it could, what's needed could range and differ. I mean, 100, 110, wherever. I mean, it's gonna. I think it'll probably land somewhere in that realm. When you look at the player safety and what's a necessity for guys, and also we're at a developmental stage for these players. I mean, it's there's a reason they come in. They spend 3 years in college so they can grow and develop. And I'm sure we'll find a good spot for it.
Josh was your first commit. What's it like to see him today?
Just so proud of him, and I mean it's he's been a tremendous Seminole, and he's been a great example. To see him a year ago go out and perform at an all conference level, and to see him represent this team here today, it is special. And he's I'll never forget that day. Sitting in my office, it was a different, and I say this, it was a different time, where you're selling a vision, you're talking about things that we would work to become, and he believed in us and we believed in him. And to see him, to see Pat, Darius, who was here, to see those guys, Lawrence Toafili, there's Maurice Smith. There's a lot of guys that could be here today to be able to share that story. But Josh was the first one that said yes, and and to see him live out and grow and develop like he has, and he's just getting started to where ultimately he's going. And but he's been a tremendous representative of our program.
Coach, you guys get ready to start fall camp this week, and that means you wrapped up summer workouts. Last year we saw you guys really overpower a lot of teams. Can you talk about how big of an impact Coach Storms and his strength and conditioning staff has had on this program as one of the best staffs in the country?
No, I mean they are, and he is. There's nobody better, in my opinion, than him. And what he's been able to do. You see and not just the physical. I mean, it's one thing to turn on film and you see the size, the speed, athleticism, but it's the mental toughness, the endurance. The way that guys have been able to finish. I mean, you look at the fourth quarters in games. You look at the month of November. I mean, all those things are things that you look at when you look at a team and how are they able to grow, how are they able to develop. Coach Storms and I have been together for going for a long time, but even just this our 9th year is both leading a part of a program, and it's really special to see. And
they might be the most intimidating looking strength and conditioning staff in the country.
They're my bodyguards, and so I picked the right ones.
Right.
What are your thoughts on Georgia Tech?
It's a talented team. It's one that you look at the experience they return offensively. A lot of respect for Haynes King. I've known Haynes since he was early in his high school.
Yeah, I saw you say hi to him. Did you ever
So we did. We actually offered him. We did a satellite camp in East Texas when I'll say that maybe going into his junior year, and we offered him that night. And I've known his dad since I got into coaching. So John King's one of the great coaches in the state of Texas, and so much respect for him. And a lot of respect for the young man. And you see his growth throughout his career. I think he'll be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They possess a lot of firepower, and a group that's it's going to be a great challenge for us to prepare for. Defensively, a lot of respect for their defensive staff. Obviously, they made a change there at defensive coordinator. Someone that we're really familiar with, just having to compete against, and definitely a talented group on both sides. So it's going to be a heck of a matchup.
Tight end Kyle Morlock what were your expectations for him last year, and what did you think he meant to your team?
Well, I mean, I thought he was huge for our team, and he was kind of one of those guys, unsung hero. Probably is, you look at Jaheim Bell, who was drafted last year, and a very explosive player, and a lot of explosive plays. But Kyle was probably the key figurehead in that tight end room for us last year, and I think that he's done nothing but got better. And he knows how to create separation. He's improved as a run blocker. I think that he's his confidence level of when you go from Division II ball to now jumping into the top level of what you're competing against at the Power 4 level. I mean, he transitioned really well in that, but also I think having this second year is really going to be big for him, and just grateful for his leadership and what he means to this team.
I was going to say, transfer. It seems like a lot of the league added transfer tight ends this past offseason. Is it because that position is maybe hard to project high school to college? Any opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody's looking for something different, and I think finding that fit and how it plays out. Whether it's a projection, and sometimes it goes the way you thought, and sometimes you might be the other. But I think Kyle has been great for us, and excited about that group. And then some of the young players and guys that we've had that have grown in that room that I think can also be tremendous assets.
Coach, you mentioned physical strength. Talk about the emotional maturity of this team after going through everything last year. Do you think this is one of the most mature groups that you have?
I mean, I mentioned in the press conference earlier that 77 guys that were a part of last year's team that are back, and so they all have that experience. They've seen it. They know what it looks like. I mean, the required responses that'll be necessary. Now we don't know what the circumstance is going to be, and that's what we get to go live out. But I'm excited about the way the guys have approached it from January up until this point. And it is. I've never questioned a day that they've showed up. Their intent. I mean, they have come to work. I'm excited to see them in the moment, and that's where. Are you going to rely on the discipline? Are you going to rely on the details? Are you going to rely on and trust your training you in that moment when everything's on the line? And that's what's going to be exciting to watch play out.
As a head coach, how refreshing isn't the right word. You don't have a lot of turnover on your coaching staff, or you haven't. How pivotal is that for the growth of a program to not have that kind of turnover? And also, as you look forward to the later stages of your career, how much do you want to see some of these guys go get head coaching jobs and have your own Mike Norvell coaching tree?
Well, I mean, if you look, I've kind of had a little bit of both, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I know in my first 4 years, I think I had to hire over 40 coaches because guys had great success and they were able to go and have different opportunities. And we've been fortunate to be able to get some of those guys back here at Florida State. But then this, the sustainability of a staff and to be able to have that the constant standard and the familiar voice. I think 8 of the 10 position coaches have been here since 2020, since we got here, and it is to have that continuity is big because it's not only the relationship, but you've also watched in that group guys that have grown, that have had maybe new positions, new opportunities, and so there is a lot of growth, and we've got wonderful futures in front of all these guys, and got plenty of guys that have been able to take that step, whether it's to coordinators or to head coaches, here throughout my head coaching, experiences, and I definitely think this group has potential to have many more.
Following up on that.
Sorry if you've answered this already, but you talk a lot about focusing on your own expectations and not listening outside. Can you talk to us a little bit about expectations for this year?
It's to get better. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's been our focus since we came through the door, and it's all different levels. And last year you go 13-0 in a regular season, a championship game, and a lot of good. But it for what the result of a game was, it might have been perfect to that point, but there was a lot of areas where we could still improve. And there were games that we won that I wasn't very happy with in the moment. And ultimately that's what we can control. We can control us. And what is this team going to look like? What are we going to do with the guys that we have, and what they do with the opportunity that's in front of them? And that's all I can ask for is for them to get better, being the best that they can be. And if that shows up, I'm very confident in who I get to coach and what they can accomplish. But that's going to be our focus, is just that constant improvement.
Coach Jen Lewis with Three Chicks in a Pod and New Stitch Media. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm well, thank you. So, just a couple quick questions. So, everybody's focused on the disappointment of last year, which is 100% accurate. But on the flip side, conversely, you guys had an entire nation back, and y'all were done wrong, right? How did that feel, just knowing that everybody knew that you guys should have been in the CFP?
Apparently not everybody.
There's always one or two.
Yes. No, I mean, it's, last year's team is a team that will be remembered. And, I talk a lot about legacy. And the legacy is the gift that you leave for others. And they left a tremendous gift for Florida State. They will forever be able to remember the experiences that they had. And, I'm grateful I got a chance to coach those guys. And, that team will be talked about, and some of those examples and experiences that they had will be able to impact others in whatever course of action that shows up in their lives. So they can remember that team, and whether it was a quarterback going down, whether it was finding themselves down in the game, whatever situation that they had to respond to, they rose up to that challenge, and it was definitely something that was hard earned, and they did it.
Perfect. And you actually segued to my next question. What was your favorite play you saw your guys make on the cuff, like without input from you?
Oh, I mean, it's to say a favorite, probably disservice to so many. But I mean, there was, I think that you look at the Clemson game where you had the scoop and score by Kalen DeLoach is one that will be remembered just for such a critical play at a critical moment, well executed, and then I just remember more of the moments in the games of going into overtime at Clemson and calling everybody up, and you look into the eyes of your players and just the confidence that there was beaming from them, and
right.
It was. They were ready, and we'd found ourselves down multiple times in that game, and we got to this point, and they were going to go win it. And for whatever steps had to take, some things in our control, some things out of our control, but they were ready to answer the bell. And I think back to those times, throughout the course of the year, in so many games, and that's why I'm excited about this year, to see this team and how they grow in those moments.
Coach, how special is it to get to play your former program in Memphis? And have you talked to Coach Silverfield yet? Maybe had a little friendly conversations between each other about it?
I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Ryan, and he was one of the kind of the cornerstone people within that program when we got there. He was with me. He was, I want to say, he's the only coach. Position coach that was there for all 4 years. I mean, we had, like I mentioned earlier, we had a lot of turnover on that staff for guys getting promotions, and he had plenty of opportunities, and he chose to stay and be a part of that. And I was excited to see him become the head coach, and last year having a 10-win season and kind of where they are. That's going to be one of the best teams in the country this year, and we know it'll be a great challenge. You actually text me this morning. I haven't got a chance to get back with him, but you always respect the job that he does, and we'll both have our teams ready to prepare or ready to compete once we get to that point. But that program will always have a special place in my heart, and I loved living there. I loved who I got to represent when I was there, and they're in good hands.
What did you see from Cypress last year to kind of explain how good Cypress was for you in the secondary?
I mean, his experience, his just maturity, he's the guy that makes everybody around him better, and definitely grateful to have him back for another year with his last year of eligibility, and I think he's gonna be a great player.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
I wasn't recording.